What's up, Silvers? It's the Jizz, a challenger player turned challenger coach, and in today's video I'm turning into Prophet Jizz because I'm going to predict and reveal the 15 most broken champions for you to play in the upcoming 11.24 patch. And in this patch there are some big changes across the board, whether it be to champions, runes, items. So I've taken all of these balanced team changes into consideration to give you the most accurate list as possible, and I would love to hear your opinion. Who do you think is going to be the most busted pick given what's coming in 11.24? Is it still going to be Camille despite the nerfs? And yes, as always, make sure if you have not already to hit that subscribe button down below for all the preseason updates you will ever need, and let's get into the video. Now, these 15 champions, there is no legit order, so if you want to make your own order in the comments, feel free. This is a free country. Now, coming in at number 15, we have Yone. And you might think, oh, Yone is in there because of shield bow, mortar reminder, and the champion is probably just innately broken. Well, all of those reasons are good. The real reason Yone has made it into the top 15 champions is because Conqueror is getting buffed. Now, I understand that against short-range champions, you're probably going to be running lethal tempo. Even though it's nerf for melee champions for 11.24, it's just the fact that your Conqueror stacks are going to last a second longer now. And for Yone, to be honest, Conqueror is such an unreal keystone because of its scaling, and later in a game as well, when you get healing, you get your shield bow, you are just unkillable with this keystone. Now, don't get me wrong, tempo will still be good. It's not like you're losing 10% attack speed, it's only 2% per stack. But now Conqueror is really back on the menu, and this is why Yone is on this countdown. Now, beating Yone to number 14, this is Lux. And whether you're playing her in the mid lane or as a support, Lux is for sure one of the premier picks. Now, in the mid lane, we all understand how good Lux is. With Luden's Tempest, Sorcerer Shoes, Shadow Flame, Horizon Focus, Void Staff, Death Cap, there are so many good items for her. Even the new Mythic Crown of the Shattered Queen, even though you're losing 10 AP from it in 11.24, it's still a great item and cut to lots of assassins in the game who you see fairly often. But Lux in the bot lane, because lethal tempo is getting buffed for ranged champions. So if we think of Caitlyn, Jinx, Vayne, Kog'Maw, these champions, maybe apart from Vayne, are really good laners. Just think of Caitlyn, for example. So Lux, paired with these aggressive laners, it's a very annoying combination to play against. You have so much range and you will poke people out of lane before it's even begun. But one champion who is also just as good as Lux, this is Jace coming in at number 13, and Jace in the top lane with First Strike is for sure going to be one of the best champions continuing for another patch. And the main reason Jace with First Strike works in the top lane is because most of the time you're going to be going up against melee short range champions. And because your main form of damage and harass is in your range form, getting the first source of damage off against the enemy champion should be really easy. And because you have a very powerful mid game with Manamune, your Eclipse Spire, this just accelerates that process because of the gold you'll be getting from First Strike. And in 11.24, Eclipse is still going to cost 3,100 gold, which is a buff from 11.23 that came in. And this patch, because there are no real nerfs to Jace and lethal tempo abusers are getting nerfed, all those melee champions in the top lane, so Jax, Tryndamere, Darius, Aurelia, this lane is just going to be even more abusable. But one jungler who is probably a better shout than Jace at actually winning and carrying games, this is Taliyah. Now, for some reason, Taliyah is just not played enough. I don't know what it is, but this champion in the jungle is one of the hardest carry champions. Okay, your early game cooldowns might not be that great, so you might be vulnerable to a level 2 invade, let's say, but once you get to level 3, there is going to be no stopping you. Your passive that gives you the movement speed to roam around the map, the seismic shove, and the combo this leads to, it can blow up anyone on the map. Now, it is true that you probably need some sort of setup from your lanes. So if you have a Renekton top, a Leona in the bot lane, that's important to land your W and your combo. But even if you don't, just in the jungle matchup, because Taliyah is a ranged champion, it can be really annoying to actually get close to her. And not only that, but your itemization is great as well. With Sorc Shoes, Luden's Tempest, you do so much damage and the magic penetration just carries you throughout a game. But beating Taliyah to number 11 on this countdown, this is Sona and Soraka. And even though I'm reading out these champions in an order, you could put Yone at number 1 and argue it. You could put Taliyah at number 15 and argue it. Before Sona and Soraka, yes, these two champions in solo queue across the board have two of the best win rates going around. And next patch, this is definitely not going to change. Nothing is getting nerfed for them, and what's really good is that lethal tempo AD carries. So if we think of Vayne, Kog'Maw, Ashe, Jinx, these hyper carry champions, they need peel, and Sona and Soraka are two of the best peelers going around. And we should also touch on here that Evan Shroud, the support mythic, which is really good for hard engages, this is actually getting nerfed. So those immobilized champions, they are going to take less damage for the next 4 seconds. It's not even 5 seconds anymore. So that in turn is like an indirect buff to Sona and Soraka simply because they go Moonstone and obviously not Evan Shroud. Now, starting off this top 10, guys, we're going to head to the mid lane here and talk about Kassadin. Now, Cass, just like Sona and Soraka and lots of champions on this countdown, has a very good win rate at the moment, and guess what? Next patch, this is only going to increase because Archangel's Staff, the tier item you go, is 400 gold cheaper. 400 gold for a scaler like Kassadin, that is insane. So this means you're getting to that item spike quicker, and even though it might not be giving you the AP it used to, it's giving you ability haste, which is still useful, and there's also healing in it, with mages as well in a pretty good position, and their itemization, Kassadin, because he is the ultimate mage counter, is just a very good pick right now. Now in some games, of course, you might want to go Crown of the Shattered Queen, which is nerfed, which is a bit of a hit, but to be honest, you're really getting it for the Safeguard passive, which is completely unchanged. So Kassadin's items, because they are still in a really good position, has to be on this list. Now beating him to number 9, we're heading back to the jungle, and this is Nunu. And the reason Nunu is here is simply because, well, he has one of the best win rates, around 54%, but also because of how well he goes with Sunfire Aegis, which got buffed from last patch, and nothing is getting nerfed for him. So you're getting more armor, magic resist, and then HP from the mythic passive. And because Nunu's full clear is safe, it's quick, it's consistent, and he's one of the best gankers going around, he is for sure the most consistent jungler. He is always going to have value, even if you go 0 and 3, because you're a tank, you're going to scale into a game and be useful regardless. But let's say you want to carry a game a bit more than playing Nunu. Well, coming in at number 8, we have Jax with lethal tempo in the top lane, and even though you're getting less attack speed from lethal tempo, I understand, but here's the thing, Jax just needs a little bit of extra attack speed to become an absolute weapon. This synergizes really well with his passive, because that's giving him attack speed as well, and with your W, because your W actually counts as a stack still, everything is still here, so the little attack speed nerf isn't really going to be felt. Now think of Jax as well with Divine Sundra, the best fighter bruiser mythic, you are still going to shred people. Also because Camille is nerfed, it actually makes you the best Divine Sundra abuser on the Rift for next patch. So let's go to number 7 now and talk about Victor, guys. Now Victor with First Strike, whether you're playing him in the mid lane or top lane, is one of the most viable mid to top lane picks, simply because getting that First Strike gold is just really consistent, because who's going to avoid your death ray and who's going to damage you before you actually land your E? It's really hard to get access to Victor, which is why you're going to get consistent, reliable gold throughout a game, and scale, which is what you're all about. Now what's also interesting is that there is a possibility for you to go the new Archangel Staff, which just sorts out all of your mana issues that you might have. And because this is 400 gold cheaper, it just sounds great. Now Crown of the Shattered Queen, as I've said, this is giving you 10 less AP, but remember the Safeguard passive, it's still there. 75% of that enemy champion's damage is going to get reduced, and you are going to be unkillable still. So Victor, if you are playing, there is no reason to stop. And that's the same for Rek'Sai coming in at number 6, with Prowler's Claw still being in a really good position, because you're dealing more damage now from the 1123 buff, and it's cheaper, and also because Conqueror, the stacking is now 5 seconds and not 4 seconds. I mean, even though for Rek'Sai you can stack this really quickly, it's not like you needed the buff, but it's still just nice. But one champion, despite getting nerfed, because Evan Shroud, the actual passive is lasting less, and the damage your allies do is going to be reduced. But here's the thing, guys, because for Blitzcrank, remember what I said about lethal tempo? It is buffed for range AD carries, and with those range AD carries like Jinx, Kog'Maw, Ashe, these big scalers in a game, they are pretty immobile. And because they're probably going to have supports like Lux, Lulu, Sona, Soraka, these peelers next to them, well, these peelers are really immobile. So for Blitzcrank, if you land one pull, they are 100% going to die. So your value, even though it might have gone down with Evan Shroud, goes up drastically because of what you're probably going to see in the bot lane. Now, kind of a flavor of 1124 in the mid lane, guys, is going to be the new Archangel Staff, because it's just costing 2600 gold, and this is going to be so good for Anivia as well. And this champion, I know I've said it for others on this countdown, currently has like a 53-54% win rate, and that's in every single elo. Not just for people who can actually play her, maybe in Platinum, Diamond, and above. This is for people even in Silver and Gold. So that just shows you how good Anivia is. And next patch with your Archangel Star Spike, well, just coming around quicker, like who doesn't want this? So it's going to be another really good patch if you're Froggen and if you're a Froggen fanboy, so keep playing the Cryo Phoenix. Now starting off the top 3, we have the best Divine Sundra abuser, but in the jungle. So Jax in the top lane, Trundle in the jungle. And for Trundle, the reason why I really like him in the jungle is because he's so darn good with Press the Attack as his keystone. Okay, you can still go lethal tempo, Conqueror you might consider going, but with Press the Attack, the actual little burst damage you deal when you're 1v1ing the enemy jungler, you cannot be beaten. And also because lots of junglers you play against are going to be attack damage junglers, your Q is one of the best cucks against them because it's going to reduce their AD. Also for ganking lanes, if you're ganking a Yasuo, Yone, or a close range top laner like Jax, just because your Q is going to reduce their AD, which is a very important stat, you just love battling these close range attack damage dealers. But beating Trundle to number 2, this is actually a lethal tempo abuser, and you can play Kayle in the middle top lane, but let me tell you something, next patch, she is going to be the cream of the crop. Well, she is the runner-up, so there is actually one champion who will be better, but for Kayle, because lethal tempo is giving you more attack speed per stack as a ranged champion, so it's going from 5% to 7%, that's almost a 50% increase. Like, that is legit. And even though you're losing a little bit of range once you get to max stacks, does that matter if you're actually getting to that range a lot quicker? No, this is actually a massive buff for ranged lethal tempo users. So when you get to your late game spike on Kayle, there is going to be no stopping you, but maybe one champion who can stop you. This is the best champion of 1124, and this is Vayne. So the reason Vayne is number one, think about it. What is Vayne's weakness? Range, right? Well, because lethal tempo is going to be easy to stack now, and because it's giving you extra range, even though it won't be as much as before, that's the point. It's still giving you range, and it's only 25 units less. It's not the biggest deal in the world. The biggest deal in the world is that for a champion like Vayne, getting more attack speed per auto attack, which works off your Q, like that is what you want. And there is a reason why Vayne at the moment has around a 53% win rate across the board. For a champion who's meant to be skill based, she is just beyond broken, and there are no nerfs coming to her in 1124. So those are the 15 best champions, guys, for 1124. If you did enjoy the video, let us know by leaving a like down below, and if you have any thoughts on the countdown who you think the most broken champion is going to be, let us know in the comments. And until tomorrow's upload, this has been the